haven't spent too much time in Eastern Europe, but when you get over to Switzerland or Austria, you see people who are strong and they have endurance. You go to Denmark or Sweden or Norway, and you just look at them, these people are so healthy. Their posture is great, they're strong, and they're not spending a lot of time in gyms.
If you look at bodybuilding historically, it was, guys were strong. They were not just pretty boys, they were absolutely extremely strong.
Somehow it's so unathletic
Sure.
in its approach. And I have friends who've done competitive bodybuilding, and most people, I think, who do resistance training these days would like to also have some degree of cardiovascular fitness. In fact, I think one of the great things that's happened in the last 5 to 10 years is that most everybody, men, women, we can talk about kids and kid training, but adult men and women are thinking about muscle, the importance of having muscle and being strong in particular as part of their longevity and health. I think This is a great progression that's so very different than when I was growing up, where the only people, at least in American gyms, that lifted were preseason football players, bodybuilders, and maybe a few other, niche groups. But now things have really changed. And here, why things are just so different in how we conceptualize resistance training. And I'll just go out on a limb and say what I believe and have thought for a long time, which is that what screwed up everything in terms of people's conceptualization about how to use resistance is bodybuilding. That, no knock against people that want to make bigger muscles.
That was the screw up number one.
It seems to be that the idea is, you go to the gym multiple times per week, you get a pump. I mean, this notion of the pump, like, it always feels aversive to me. Not the pump itself, but when people talk about it, it just feels a little inappropriate. Like, let's get a pump. Like, it just feels weird when people say that. In any event, but this whole notion of just flushing the muscle with blood and getting it to, sure, you get some window into your potential future self if you go home and eat a bunch of food and sleep, but somehow it's so unathletic in its approach. And I have friends who've done competitive bodybuilding and that sort of thing, not too many, but so I've respect for the sport at some level, but I feel like the way it's spilled over into quote unquote gym culture has done equal harm and good. And what I like so much about your work is that it's really about strength as a skill, strength as an asset for longevity. And I guess when I think about somebody who wants to be strong, somebody who wants to be healthy, I also have to ask, should people be training for strength and endurance, like the two opposite ends of the spectrum? Because it seems to me that would be the answer.
Great question.
As opposed to what most people do, which is, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. Maybe I'll push a sled, and then I'll do some kettlebell swings, and then I'll also do some pull-ups, and then I'm going to like take a picture of my tricep in the mirror. I mean, it just seems like, while it's better than doing nothing, it's clearly not making America that much healthier. And I just think there's such a vast landscape of opportunity in training for strength and endurance, but they seem at such odds with one another for most people. So maybe we could just kind of throw up on the whiteboard here this notion of training to get strong, strength as a skill, strength as something that's valuable for longevity. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier. And then endurance, the ability to carry 2 suitcases to the airplane without coughing up a lung at the end. Also the ability to take a hike with your partner or your kids, maybe actually have a backpack on your back and not have to stop every 50 paces. Just being a fit overall person. Which one, forgive me for the duration of this question, but when travels to Europe, I haven't spent too much time in Eastern Europe, but when you get over to Switzerland or Austria, you see people who are strong and they have endurance. I mean, I imagine a Sherpa is strong with endurance as well, right?
By the way, Sherpas are really messed up. Their mitochondria are truly messed up. This is excessive hypoxia. It's very interesting. Their metabolism is quite severely anaerobic. It's very weird.
Oh, weird.
The markers of oxidative stress is really, really high. But sorry, that's off topic.
No, we can touch on that because it's interesting. People who live at altitude and
up to a certain point. Denver is good. The Himalaya is not good.
Okay. Well, yeah, I have Scandinavian relatives, and you go to Denmark or Sweden or Norway, and you just look at them, these people are so healthy. Their posture is great, they're strong, and they're not spending a lot of time in gyms. Sometimes they are. So what's going on in terms of strength and endurance, and maybe how bodybuilding and this notion of building muscle has perhaps caused some issues that we need to help people reconceptualize?
Once again, several great questions. Let's talk about bodybuilding, and then before getting to endurance, what you said, it's It's absolutely true, but I'd say there are different types of bodybuilding. If you look at bodybuilding historically, guys were strong. I've had the honor of knowing some golden age era bodybuilders like Franco Colombo and Dave Draper and Clarence Bass, and these guys were formidable. They were not just pretty boys, they were absolutely extremely strong. So I think something happened in the culture where bodybuilders stopped valuing strength. Some bodybuilders. There's still a number of guys out there who are following traditional methods and they're strong. Also, interestingly enough, the bro split, hit once a muscle once a week, it's not necessarily bad if you again follow more of into this classic American powerlifting model. So instead of training 3 times a week, you train 5, in addition to your squat day, deadlift day, bench day. You can have shoulders day and arms day and whatever, but you go heavy. Look at Reg Park, with his sets of 5. And if you emphasize this medium reps, and again, Soviets eventually came to the conclusion that for strength, you should stick in the 1 to 6 repetition range. And you shouldn't do a lot of singles and doubles. 3s and 4s should predominate. But 4s, and especially 5s and 6s, this is where you get both hypertrophy and strength. That's that beautiful combination. And 5s have a great tradition in American powerlifting as well. If you train with 5s, you're going to get muscle and you're going to get strength and you're not going to complicate things. So there are some bodybuilders out there who train in this particular manner and they're fantastically strong. Just not many of them, unfortunately. But I also would like to add that there's another influence that messed things up. I would take the bros of the 90s with the big bench press and the chicken legs to these guys who stand on balls and juggle oranges and whatever the hell they're doing. I mean, the idea is, so there's the concept of neuroplasticity, which obviously you know so much more than I about, that's always thrown around. Oh, you need variety. And so they throw every circus trick at these poor clients. And by the way, I use the word clients purposefully, but in that world, they're definitely clients. Well, today, you're going to stand on 1 foot, and then you're going to pull on this cable. And then tomorrow, you're going to kneel and you're going to do this kind of thing. While asymmetrical loading and symmetry are absolutely something that's needed under certain condition, you need to do it in a professional way. Like if you look at Gray Cook's work, Gray will tell you, just get yourself symmetrical and start lifting instead of resort to this unlimited, what a colleague of mine, Mark Riffin, called random acts of variety. So I'd say that's the other, there are way too many choices. And when there are no constraints, when everything's available, you go to a store, everything's available, you don't know what to pick. Endurance is a very broad term. And if we talk about, let's talk a little bit about training for athletes for endurance, and let's talk maybe a little bit for the general population we're trying to do for health, and again, for just going for a hike. So the endurance of being able to do triathlon or swim a very long distance, the adaptations are primarily taking place in the slow fibers, and you have some very specific adaptations to the capillaries and the mitochondria, so many things, but in a very specific way. And that's not going to help you, let's say, if you're a fighter. It's happened over and over where a guy who's been a marathoner, he takes up MMA and he starts getting gassed really rapidly. Because while he has, his slow fibers can keep going forever, but not at the intensity that's required for this particular sport.